My assistant manager just suggested that I transfer list Sir Tom Elliott. I think that might be grounds for dismissal. Hello and welcome to part 59 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode we have two games in League 2. We're at home against Bristol Rovers, then away against Fylde. Since you were last with me, the usual indifferent, sort of all over the place form. One draw, couple of wins, couple of defeats. We've been knocked out of the Checkatrade Mickey Mouse Nonsense Cup, which is fair enough. And I keep meaning to talk to you about this stupid competition because I thought in the group stages the groups were supposed to be regional. Now, I'm not a geography expert, but I do know where Southampton is, I do know where Stevenage is, I do know where Nuneaton is, and I do know where Bristol is. And I don't think those places are very near each other. In fact, looking at the group above, Posh, Forest, Bradford and Burnley, it's all gone a little bit wrong. Exeter in the same group as Crewe and Port Vale. It seems like as soon as the teams start moving around the divisions, they completely give up on the whole regional thing. Is the game not smart enough to make it regional? Some are still, that one still works. Arsenal, Orient, Wimbledon and Charlton. But that could just be because that group hasn't changed in the 7 or 8 years of the game, because I guess none of them have dropped out of the league or moved up into the Championship. The groups that have had teams move around in, you've got Notts County in a group there. Why are they not in the same group as Forest and... presumably, who else could we pick to go in that group? I don't know that we need to pick. That group looks like it works okay. Some of them work fine. Some of them are just weird. That one's fine. Sunderland, Man United, Bury and... I don't know how much we've got in the North East. But the Checkatrade Trophy is broken. That's my point. So I'm glad that we've been knocked out of it. It's league football today, though. And the league is all important. We currently find ourselves 4 points outside of the playoffs. Down in 10th place. I like the fact that we're looking up rather than looking down, though, because if we do glance down, we're 16 points clear of 23rd place Doncaster. I think even though we're not even at the halfway point of the season yet, unless things go desperately wrong and the wheels just fall off completely, we should be comfortably staying in League 2 this season. And if players continue to improve over the second half of the season, there is still that outside chance of a really unlikely charge for the playoffs in our first season in the Football League. This is going to be the team that we put out there today. Still can't find a spot for Sir Tom Elliott in the team, but obviously I didn't put him on the transfer list when my assistant manager suggested I should. That's just silly. Make improvements to the club's dressing room atmosphere. So Tom, what's wrong with the dressing room atmosphere? Is it just that... So it's the fact that we've got 3 unhappy clubs. Well, Cedwyn Scott's unhappy because we didn't get promoted last year. But we did! So Tom's upset because Cedwyn's upset, and Rowan Ince wants to leave for first team football, which is why I've put Rowan Ince back in the team today. He's only played 3 games since he arrived. I'm going to give him a little run of games now. I've promised him a little run of games after one of those little chats. So we're going to play him until he stops being grumpy, in the hope that cheering him up also cheers up Sir Tom Elliott, and then we just accept that Cedwyn Scott is a grumpy bear. It's not a massive issue because he's out for 4 months with a broken ankle, I think, or torn calf muscle. So we're not going to have Cedwyn Scott in the team for a little while anyway. So this is the starting 11. We've got Nadat in goal, a back 4 of Anderson, Redhead, Sawyer and Worrell Bristow, with Ince, Hurd and Chambers Shaw in midfield, and then Ball in behind McDonald and Fisher. McDonald and Fisher are a pretty useful strike partnership. Bristol City have a bright future. 9 in 17 from Fisher, and then an even more impressive 13 in 18 from McDonald. If I was Bristol City manager, I know they're in the Premier League at the moment. I presume they're going to get relegated. But when they get relegated back down to the Championship, I'd be very much thinking in terms of getting both those lads into my first team squad. In the same way as in non-league to legend when we were at Portsmouth, because we had no money to spend, we hoovered up the top scorers in League 2 and brought them in. And they can basically do it by just recalling players they've already got on loan. They've got 2 players who are scoring pretty consistently at this level. I think they could probably make a step up and sit on a Championship bench, considering their age. But maybe not so much with Bristol City being in the Premier League. Right, what's happening? We're playing Bristol Rovers today. There you go. They can both enjoy getting a goal against their parent club's big rivals. Bristol Rovers are rock bottom of League 2, so you would think it's a game that we should be able to win comfortably, although we seem to be cruising towards half-time without any highlights even. Here we go, we finally get a highlight, but it is Bristol Rovers with the ball, and They are charging down this right-hand side and have scored. The first highlight of the game, their first shot of the game, completely against the run of play. I know we've not seen anything on the highlights, but looking at the match stats when we go back to the other screen, we have completely dominated this first half, but not actually created any decent chances. So it's kind of been wasted domination, which has been a theme of our season at times. But Fisher now, 2 ints. We're immediately getting a highlight from the kickoff. Hopefully we are going to create a chance here, and it's Chambers-Shaw. Crosses in. McDonald is there and scores immediately. We've immediately equalised. And it's through Josh McDonald. And that's his 15th goal of the season. He has scored against the rivals of his parent club. And hopefully we can get the same from Fisher. It's a lovely little ball from Fisher out to Chambers-Shaw. Cross comes in. It's an awkward angle to get a header from. But he used the goalkeeper as a wall. And it worked brilliantly. 1-1. Come on, let's go and grab another one before half-time. Just absolutely sucker punch them. They're bottom of the league. They're going to be miserable anyway. If we can let them score in the 41st minute and still go in at half-time losing, that's surely just going to absolutely knock the stuffing out of them for the second half and set us up for something special. And McDonald's in again, finds Fisher, and that's exactly what does happen. There have been 3 goals in 3 minutes in this match. 2 of them have gone our way, and amazingly, despite going 1-0 down in the 41st minute, by the end of the 43rd, we're ahead, and poor old Bristol Rovers are not having the most fun season, especially when we're scoring sweaty FIFA goals. Oh, that did feel a little bit dirty. But I guess with them both being Bristol City youth prospects, they're going to have a reason to both want a goal. And McDonald lays it into the path of Fisher beautifully. Have we got time for a third before the half-time whistle goes? I mean, that would be... I mean, it would just be cruel. But we are on the move again. It's McDonald, and it's a really poor finish this time. But we have absolutely dominated this first half. We should be far more than 2-1 ahead. But I guess, bearing in mind where we were at the 41-minute mark, to go in ahead is an achievement in and of itself. And hopefully we can push on in this second half, grab a couple more goals, take advantage of the absolute domination of this match. Bristol Rovers have still only had that one shot. They're only on 40% possession. They're barely at 50% pass completion. We are just absolutely dominating every single stat, apart from goals scored, because we're only the one ahead of them for that. And for as long as that's the case, there's always the chance that they get back into the game for a fluky equaliser. Even their fitness is worse than ours. I mean, it's no wonder they're bottom of the league if their conditioning is that poor. How are they in that much of a mess this early in the match? Let's make a couple of changes. Let's get Sir Tom Elliott on. This feels like an occasion for Sir Tom Elliott. Rowan Ince hasn't played for a while and he's shattered. So Sir Tom Elliott can come on in his normal Carrilero position, and we want to get ball off as well. Do we have anyone who can push? In theory, both Hurd and Chambers-Shaw can push forward. So I'll bring Peter Taylor on and decide which one of these two we're going to play in there. I think I'll probably play Hurd, keep Chambers-Shaw out as the Mazzala. Taylor is his usual deep line playmaker. And I think we'll make our third substitution, because why on earth not? Laskowski comes on for... I mean, he's our super sub now. I was raving about him 2 seasons ago, but he's not really been a regular starter for a year and a half at this point. But he's getting a lot of appearances because he's always a substitution that I make. And I don't usually make a habit of substituting centre-backs, but I really want Laskowski to get as good as I hoped he would be. I'm not ignoring the fact that we've scored. I see we've scored. I would have expected more than 3 by this point of the game, but it's nice to see that it's one of the Bristol City lads again. I apologise if you're a Bristol Rovers fan. This is all a little bit messy for you today, but it's McDonald and Fisher linking up beautifully again. I imagine these two have been playing together for like the last 10 years, apart from the last 3 seasons or so when they've both been out on loan at different conference clubs. But they would have come through the youth system at Bristol City together. And chance for a fourth. Does it? I thought the final whistle had gone, but the cross made it in, and then the whistle does go. 3-1, I think, flatters them a little bit there. But it's a comfortable win for us. Takes us into the Fylde game, knowing that a win could push us up into the playoff spots at the end of the episode at the start of December, which would be really, really cool. 2 changes for the Fylde game then. We've got Taylor coming back into the midfield at the expense of Hurd, just resting Hurd really, and Williams comes back in at right back at the expense of Bobby Joe Worrell Bristow. I'll never remember all 4 of that man's name, but he picked up a slight knock in the last game, so he can drop back out of the team for Williams, to come back in. I've let a couple of players go out on loan, or they're in the process of going on loans. We've got New Omar has gone out on loan to Wealdstone. Philip Burns, who you saw a couple of episodes ago, he's a centre-back. He's gone out on loan to St Albans. And I'm also letting Mike Payne go out on loan as well, the young goalkeeper we signed in the summer. He's also going to Wealdstone. They're all up. These clubs are offering to pay all of their wages, give them game time in the National League. It just seems to make sense to send them out there. I'm less grumpy with Nada than I was 2 episodes ago. I think he's actually not a bad keeper. He's developing well. He's still got that 5-star potential. I know he's only here on loan, and I know he's conceding a lot of goals, but that's because we're not very good. It's nothing to do with his quality as a goalkeeper, I don't think. And a season out of the limelight, or it doesn't even have to be a full season. We've got recall options and all of these loans, but even if Payne goes down there for 3 months and plays out of his skin and looks brilliant, it gets him 3 months of football, and then we can bring him back and use him in the second half of the season. McDonald's just scored 15 seconds into a match. Josh McDonald is a goal machine, and if things finish as they are, that does push us up into that playoff spot. This is directly from the kickoff. The Fylde team haven't yet touched the ball. It's a lovely pass from ball, and McDonald just brings it away from the 2 defenders who are chasing him and tucks it into the back of the net. He's a very confident finisher. That lad will definitely play championship football in the near future. I just don't see how he's not a player who's going to develop into a good Football League striker. He's not going to be a Premier League striker, let's face it. No one in our team's going to end up in the Premier League. But McDonald is going to turn into quite the player. Ince over the top for Fisher. It's McDonald again, and it just whistles over the bar. We could have been 2-0 up on 15 minutes. Fylde, I mean, they're another team who are down in that bottom half of the table. They're a team who, based on our form compared to their form so far this season, you would expect us to be able to go and beat fairly comfortably. But as you saw in the last episode, we're massively inconsistent. You saw it on the fixtures at the start of the episode as well. Our form, we rarely win 2 games in a row. So although in theory we should be able to beat Fylde, we are away from home and we are prone to that happening. And there's the chorus of "Play Mike Payne," because Nadat didn't even move for that. But then would Payne have moved for it? I don't want us to start. I'm it's weird because I know the players in the game don't see the comments, but I kind of feel like the comments are like the fans. It's like looking on Twitter. It's like a phone-in. And I just feel like throwing Mike Payne into the team, age 20, when he's no better than Can or Nadat, he's asking for people to get on his back fairly early on. Whereas if we send him away to get some game time and he comes back as a 3-star goalkeeper, as an example, then he'll come in and he'll be a noticeable improvement on the other 2. And we won't start getting the Payne out nonsense straight away. I don't know. It's just another little layer of realism that I like to put into the game. Whatever the consensus is down in the comments, I feel like that's probably the consensus of the real fans. And I sometimes choose to protect my players accordingly. This is a nice finish from Ball, who has had another very solid couple of games in this episode. He's on loan, and I would love to make him a permanent signing because I think he's probably the key element of this system that we use, the 4-3-1-2. He's the only out-and-out attacking midfielder we've got at the club. And, oh, that's a lovely finish. And again, Nadat hasn't actually taken his arms up from his sides for either of the goals. He's just watched both of them whistle past him into the back of the net. I mean, we perhaps need to have a little word with him and just suggest that he sometimes tries to make a save, because he wasn't even looking the right way there. He looked to his right, the ball passed him on the left, hit the post and sped across onto the right-hand side. Yeah, he's on a 6.7. He's the best man out of the 5 defenders that we've got on the pitch. Nadat is having the best game of all of them. Doesn't feel right to me, but who am I to argue with a star rating or a match rating even? It's a very similar story to what happened in that last game against Bristol Rovers. We are utterly dominating the match, but as it stands at the moment, we've been caught out by 2 goals that we probably should have saved. And we're not being quite as prolific at the other end. Hopefully, we'll still manage to go and grab a winner because, oh, look at that. Ball to McDonald. That is beautiful. We are dominating every stat, apart from headers. We're not doing very well in the air. Or tackles, actually. So we're not tackling or heading, but we've got loads of possession. We're passing well. We're having more shots. We're creating chances. And when the ball comes to the right men, Goals are happening. Ball is a creative genius, and McDonald is just a finishing machine. He is absolutely lethal at this level. Right, let's make a substitution. Sawyer not having a good game at all, so I've got another excuse to bring Laskowski on. Rowan Ince. Oh, why haven't I got Sir Tom Elliott on the bench? We'll bring Squire Bill on. Squire Bill can play as at Carolero as well, so we don't get any Sir Tom Elliott in this match. It's because I let my assistant pick the subs without thinking, and I have to move Sir Tom onto the bench myself. Final, I don't know. Should we bring on Jerry Hendon? Oh no, Livesey Mason's done it. Let's give Livesey Mason 20 minutes of league football. He scored within seconds of the last time he made an appearance at this level. We've not really given him much other opportunity though, but if we can't bring Sir Tom Elliott on, let's bring on another club legend who's actually a club legend in game rather than just a legend in our minds. Livesey Mason comes on, and I wonder if it's possible for him to lose legendary status if he turns out to just not be very good at this level. If we keep him around for another 2 or 3 years and he's just rubbish, do you slip back down again? Or is the fact that he's now a legend, does he stay a legend forever? Because in real life you can be a legend and then blow it all and not be a legend anymore. I wonder. The important thing is we've won both those matches. We haven't ended the episode in the playoffs because the teams around us are winning as well. It's always the way when you're pushing at the top end of the league. But we are, after 20 games on 34 points, another 4 or 5 wins, and we are safe, officially safe. And then it's just a case of seeing how high we can finish. I'm not that bothered at this stage whether we hit the playoffs this season or not. I think it could do more harm than good if we were able to backdoor Kev our way into the playoffs and then somehow win them. I think this squad moving up into League One could be a disaster waiting to happen. But a nice, comfortable mid-table season and then a real promotion push next year looks like it could be on the cards. And that is awesome. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.